All right. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate the time to share what I have learned about service delivery. We talk about customer service, we talk about client care, but a lot of times our experience with people in this profession, particularly when you're dealing with a professional, may not be up to par. So as self-employed individuals, these are the things that can make you stand out from the rest of the crowd when you're dealing with customers. So let's take a look. My name is Itara Sumeros, and I've been a mentor with SCORE for about a little bit more than a year now. But for 14, 15 years now, I've been working with people to plan and produce their business communications, the things that they use to communicate with their prospective and current customers. But I'd like to know a little bit more about you. So I'd like to know who you are. And one of the ways that I think is really good to do this is for us to get to know each other better. I'm going to ask you about your preferences. So let's take a look. Would you rather shop at Macy's or Saks Fifth Avenue? Let me hear what you have to say. No responses, no preferences?
We're unmuted. Saks.
You're muted?
Okay, now I'm not.
Okay. Okay, Saks. Okay, so would you prefer to work 2 days or 5 days?
2.
Well, this is just to have a little fun and break it up because we can be oh so serious when it comes to business, but it's important to have some fun. Okay, final question. Would you prefer to go to a movie or to a second line?
Movie.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that makes us who we are the things that we like to do. And it's important as a self-employed person to look at the things that we enjoy, the way we express ourselves, and create our business identity because we are the business. Let's take a look at this video that has a few things that I think everybody can relate to about customer service. This is a minute video.
The sound's not coming through, Atara.
You said what?
The sound's not coming through.
The video sound is not coming through? Okay. Let's see if we can get it this way. I'm sorry about that. It worked fine yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's an option on your panel.
Yeah,
So,
what is? Oh, the start video?
No time. No, can't hear anything.
Okay. My bad.
It's share the sound. Share your computer sound.
All right, Jay. What did you say? Jay?
This is an option to share your computer sound.
Okay. Well, there's. Okay. All right. Let me go back now. Let's see if we can get this now. You hearing it now? Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
$2, but everyone in front of me got free bread.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3.
What?
No soup for you.
Could you tell me about some of your phones, please?
Okay. See that one over there? Mm-hmm. That is a phone.
Yeah, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.
This is the one I like the best. That was someone's.
Thank you for waiting. We'd like to continue boarding the aircraft now. We're now boarding all rows, please. All remaining rows. Hello. Enjoy your flight.
Okay, so hopefully nobody has had that kind of experience, but I'm sure that I'm not the only one that has had a bad customer experience. Nothing quite that bad, but the point is, this is what we want to stay away from. So our objective is to provide outstanding service delivery. So what makes delivery customer service? What can make this outstanding? It's all in the details. We're going to talk about three things. First, that you are the business, which means we're talking about creating the business identity, your business reputation. Now that you've started this business, you have to establish what makes you different from your competition. The second thing we're going to talk about is how do you do this? What is entailed in making your business stand out, making you different from the rest? And the third thing we're going to discuss is the tools of the trade. How do you support all of these functions? How do you make everything work together? So let's go. I have a poll, and Jay, if you could launch the poll for me, I would appreciate that. It's a one-question poll just asking you whether you provide a service or a product or both, just so that I can get to know you better. Everybody see the poll?
Yep.
Okay. Everybody done?
Yes.
So you are the business. What exactly does that mean? It means that your appearance, your mental attitude, the way you conduct your business, the things you use to identify your business, all create the persona, the image, the identity that people want to be able to recognize easily. And being the business means that it's not just about approaching a customer for the sale. We want to approach the customer to satisfy their needs, to make sure that they have exactly what they want, get what they requested in the manner that they want it with excellent service. So let's take a look at the mechanics of that. We talk about business identity on three different levels. One, the industry, your profession. There is a certain persona, a certain image people have of different types of professions. So first, you identify that. The second part is the way you personally present this business identity. Everything about your business has to be constantly reinforced for customers. So your identity, your company name, your logo, the colors that you use, all of these need to be consistent throughout. Whether you're an accountant or a caterer, you have to make sure that people are able to recognize your business or your brand, which is the buzzword, branding, be able to recognize you from your competition immediately. It takes some time. You don't have to do all of these things, but whatever you do, whether it's just your business card, having your logo, your brochure, your work order, if you have just those three things, your agreement, your work order, and your business card, all of them should have the exact same name, company name, and logo in exactly the same format. DHL does this, FedEx does this, all the large companies use these same strategies. Why is this important? Because people make their first decision about your business within 3 seconds of meeting you. So you have to always make sure that you are representing your business identity consistently and make sure that people understand exactly what you have to offer. So these two examples show you some of the things that you can use. It's always a good idea to have an identification badge or a nameplate, your name or your company name embroidered or printed on your shirt, on your jacket, on your business cards. They have lots of different things you can do. You can have it on your brochure, pens, pencils to give your customer, but everything needs to be consistent. On the left, we have like a very casual, business casual look. And then on the right, we have the professional line, the tools of the trade that an accountant or an engineer, an architect, they're no exception, they use branding as well. And it's a very good way to reinforce your business identity with the customer. The more times they see your name and logo, the easier it is for them to recall. So people buy from people that they trust. And trust is not something that people just give away. You have to earn a person's trust. We're not just buying a product, we're buying a service, we're buying a rapport with the company. If someone is very rude to you, then no matter how much you need what they have to offer, you're not going to buy from them because you're not comfortable with them. So establishing trust starts with your business identity, having a consistent identity, and then working up through the next 7 steps that ensure people are able to trust you. We're thinking about experience. Think of a before and after. You might have a prospective customer who's had an unpleasant experience with someone else in your profession. So they may be just okay. They may be skeptical, a little bit wary of dealing with you. So now this is when your communication skills come in, where you have to ask them questions and listen to their answers. You have to find out what makes them satisfied with this experience. What are they expecting? So that you can find out whether or not you're a good fit. So you think of before where they're just okay. You want to move them through this experience so that by the time it gets to the point where they're giving you, rating your performance, they're like, this was the greatest experience that I've had in a long time. So that way it's a lot easier for them to give you a glowing review, refer you to other people, post good comments about you on different sites. All of this helps to reinforce your reputation. So there's 7 steps to service delivery. First, the person has to feel comfortable with you. They have to feel that they can depend on you. All of the things that we're going to work through are building on these particular 7 steps. Be sincere with your customer. Don't overpromise. Many people, when they're trying to make a sale, they will make all kinds of outlandish claims and exaggerate things, and then they can't deliver, which only serves to turn off the customer further. So you want to be honest with them, tell them exactly what you can do, but not overpromise. You have to be able to establish that you have the capability to provide what they're looking for. If your business needs certain licenses or certain credentials or certifications, you have to be willing to show that. And you have to have a model. You have to have principles that you stand by. You have to be able to have credibility and take care of the person from the beginning of the process straight through to the end. You have to show them that you are committed to their success as well as to their satisfaction, particularly when you're dealing with another business person and you're providing a service for their business. This is vitally important. And most importantly, you have to have integrity of person. If a person cannot trust what you say, if you're not trustworthy, if you don't say what you mean and mean what you say, this is a surefire way to turn off a customer. So let's recap. We know that identity matters. Identity starts with the person, understanding what their business is, what their profession is, their capabilities, and projecting that. Carrying that through to the physical, tangible items that people will use, the business card, the work agreement, the work order, the delivery forms, anything that you give to a customer from your business should have your branding on it. The second thing is to focus on the customer experience. Don't focus on the sale. You want to focus on providing an experience. You want to make sure the person is comfortable, that their needs are met. You want to listen more than you talk. One of the most important things you can do is to work consistently to earn the person's trust. We're going to take a short break here, get up, stretch your legs, and get a glass of water, and then we will come back and we will continue. And we're going to take 5 minutes here.
Water.
Okay, is everybody back?
Yep.
Okay. I wanted to just stop here and ask, did you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, so let's go forward. All right, business mechanics. I think that this is probably the meat of the whole presentation. How do you do this? How do you provide outstanding service? What does it take to do this? The most important thing to think about is look at your business like a car. Okay, car has a lot of different parts. But what's the difference between a Chevy Spark and a Chevy Corvette? It's all in the details. You sit inside a Corvette and it's like, it's got things that a Spark doesn't even think about having. This is the difference between an outstanding service delivery from a business and a customer service delivery. It's very important to break it down into an action plan. Of course, when you start your business, you start with a business plan. There are things you have to do to get your business up and running. And marketing is a component in the business plan. But usually it talks about how to attract customers, how to reach customers, things that customers like as far as promotion-wise. What we're focused on is once you have the customer, how do you take care of them? So we're going to look at some of the details behind that now. Outstanding service is the #1 reason for customer loyalty. Beyond everything else, it is their experience in the process of buying the service or the product that makes the difference. There are several things that we need to look at. And one is your workflow process, because the way your workflow process is broken down will help define the things that you can do to provide this superior level of service to your customer. The first thing that happens after a customer agrees to work with you, what happens then? So you make a handshake, yes, and you're very excited and you're looking forward to doing the work. But the first thing you have to do after they have agreed to work with you is you have to confirm the details. You write an email, you list everything that was discussed, you send the customer the email, and you should follow it up with a phone call as well. But the purpose of doing this is to make sure that you and the customer are on the same page. You can't take anything for granted. This gives them the opportunity to say, you know, I forgot to ask you about this particular thing, or could I change this to something else? But once you get all of these deep details of the work order correct, you have to print it up. You have to make sure that it's exactly what they want and have them sign off on that, because that is what you're going to create your work agreement from. So the work agreement covers, in plain English, not in legalese, you want your work agreement to state your name and the customer's name, of course, but also make sure that you define exactly what it is that the customer ordered and exactly what you're going to provide to fulfill that. You want to make sure that in case there is any changes, that provision is made in the work agreement for what happens if the customer changes the order after the agreement is signed. Why is it so important to have a work agreement? Because when it comes to a dispute, people have convenient memories. They remember what they want to remember. So it's really important, I cannot stress this enough, to have an agreement. And I would go further to say that if you are dealing with a customer, particularly a business customer, for the first time, it's good to have the contract or the work agreement witnessed by a third party. Because when it comes to a legal dispute with another company, then the question of, well, who saw this contract being signed, who witnessed it, is going to come up. So if you ever have to deal with a lawyer or a legal action against a customer, if you do not have proof that they agreed to what they said they agreed to, then it makes it much more difficult, much more time consuming to handle that type of problem. So confirming the order, confirming all the details of the work agreement, which includes where the work is going to be done. Is it going to be done on their premises, or is it going to be done on your premises, or is it going to be done in a neutral setting? So make sure that you have complete information about the work location. Why is that important? Depending on the type of work that you do, for instance, if I go into a contract with a customer to rewire their complete computer network, then I have to know what the environment is that I'm going to be working in, where the work is going to take place. For safety reasons, one, to understand what I need to bring with me to the work site too. So make sure that you're clear on where the work will be done. And of course, when it comes time to deliver, it's not just when I will deliver the product, it is what time is best for the customer to accept delivery of the product or the service. So all of these three tasks here have a lot of support. So when you take your action plan, you put it parallel to your business plan, and you want to make sure that everything in the business plan and the action plan that you're doing now are in sync. So you want to make sure that the things that you need in order to confirm the order, having a solid email provider, having stationery, whatever it is that you need in order to complete that task, you have it in hand. Make sure that when it comes to work locations, you have a complete understanding of your environment. If you're working in a situation that may have physical hazards, then you might need to also consider speaking with your attorney to find out, do I need liability insurance to cover this? Because as a self-employed person, everything comes back to you. You don't have a manager to go to and say, well, this happened at the work site. So you've got to cover all of your bases. So if you're going to be doing any kind of physical work for a client, whether it's painting, cooking, whatever it might be, where physical hazard is part of the situation, you want to make sure that all of that is covered in the work agreement as well. When you talk about the best time to deliver, it's what's best time for the customer. And you want to make sure, you want to confirm their availability, not just go by what was written when the contract was signed. So you want to be able to confirm that as well. So the day of delivery, the way you handle the day of delivery is, like I said in the previous slide, you want to call ahead a day before and confirm what time is best to meet with the client. Then you should plan to get there. If your meeting is at 3 p.m., then you should try to get there at least by 2 to 3. You want to get in, exchange greetings, and then take a moment and say, I'd like to just review where we began and where we are now. So you review what they asked for. And this is on a written form. You take this with you. You create this form that basically says, here is the date of the delivery, the time, the location. Then you list what the customer asked you for. Then you explain in steps what your solution was that you used to give the customer what they asked for. Once you answer all their questions, they nodding in agreement, that's right, that's right, that's right, everybody's happy. Then you ask them for their signature, you give them a copy, and they inspect the goods, everything has been, gets their approval, and you thank them for the business and you leave, okay? But these are very important things to think about. When you talk about how you work with a customer, clear communication is vital. You have to be able to make sure that they understand. You have to talk to their level. So if your work is highly technical, or you have special terms that you use to describe your work, what you want to do is you want to make it so that anyone without, whatever level education they may have, understands what it is that you do. That way, if the communication is clear, it's easier for them to understand if they really do have a question. But if what you say to them doesn't make sense or they don't understand it, then automatically questions begin to come into their mind. So we want to think of ourselves and think of others. We're all customers. So as a business person providing a service, you have to keep that experience in mind. Remember, we are all customers. And going that extra step by explaining things, making sure they're clear on everything, lets them know, well, it's not just about the money for this person. So after the delivery, okay, the customer is ecstatic, everything is lovely, they signed the delivery, accepted the delivery, they're happy. So of course you have to go out and celebrate the win. Whether you go back to the office or you meet with your colleagues or whatever, definitely take time to celebrate the win. Because if you don't take the moment to do that, then it just becomes drudgery. You're working for yourself. This is one of the perks. You enjoy the win. Once you enjoy the win, you want to set up a performance survey. Then this should go out no later than 24 hours after the customer has accepted delivery. It should be within 24 hours. And make sure that you don't just thank them for their business, but go a step further. Ask them if it's okay for you to give them a check-in call in a couple of days to see how they're doing. You want to find out if there's anything else they could do. Can I post your review on my site? Can I post your website link? Find out what you can do to seriously continue your connection with that customer. That way, the next time something comes up, it might not even be something that you yourself can provide. The customer may call you and say, do you know anybody who can do this? All of this builds your credibility and your credentials in the business world as a solid, reputable business person. So your 4 ACEs are attention to detail, clear communication, empathy as a customer, and being satisfaction oriented. If you really take those 4 principles and add them to the 7 steps to build customer trust, if you put those into practice as a self-employed person, people will really not think anything less than you have a company full of employees that are doing work for you. If you carry yourself that way, if you do your branding, if you make sure that you work on all of those steps we talked about before that improve customer trust, if you give them an experience, if you let them know they're valued, they'll become a loyal customer to you. So tools of the trade, not just your skills, not just what you know, not just what you can do, your credentials, yes, but also the people who work with you, who collaborate with you because you are a self-employed person and you do not have employees. So therefore, you're going to work with other professionals or small companies that cater to self-employed people, freelancers, independent contractors. The big difference between being an independent contractor or freelancer and being a truly self-employed person is that the self-employed person is creating the product or service themselves, okay? And they're doing everything it takes to make that happen. As an independent contractor, you're providing a specific role for a larger company. You don't take care of the books, you don't take care of the legal, you don't take care of the marketing, you don't take care of, you know, the computer system maintenance. None of that is your responsibility. But when you're self-employed and you're providing a service, all of that is on you. So you have to get a good support team. And that can be services on demand for the things that you need to keep you productive. There's a whole list at the end of the presentation of services and apps that are specifically geared toward self-employed people, freelancers, etc., to help you be more productive, to manage your time, how to mind map your ideas. We talked about an action plan, how to write proposals, how to do things that you would need an entire staff to do. Well, if you're a self-employed person and you can't afford to hire an employee, you have a resource on demand. You hire them for a specific project, and of course, you get an agreement with anyone that you do business with as well. And make sure it follows the same guidelines that you do for your customers. Make sure you understand everything before you get involved with them. But the people that you work with become your support team. And so you have to be clear with them. They need to be clear with you. You definitely need a source for legal advice and accounting advice, because there are different situations that I am not a lawyer, so I cannot give you legal advice, okay? But there are certain issues as a self-employed person, legal issues and accounting or tax issues that you have to handle, or else you can end up in a very serious situation. So you definitely need two components of the 5 as professional people, an accountant and a lawyer. But the marketing, the administration, and the production and management, if you are the producer of the product or service, then it's best for you to focus on what you do best. But when you try to produce the product and service and do the administration, the administrative type work, and do the marketing, now you're going to be burnt out, exhausted, and frustrated, because there's just 1,440 minutes in a day. And 1,440 is not enough to handle what you've got to handle in those 3 tasks. So the services are there, the professionals are there on a pay scale that self-employed people can handle. The other thing that you want to think about as far as tools of the trade is your industry. It's important, if you, whatever your profession is, to find out where these folks hang out, because it's very important to stay current. It's important for you to know who's doing what. It's important for you to just be seen. Every time you're in public, it has to be about your business, because you're a self-employed person. So you are the business, so you have to represent that way. When it comes to the things that we do as business people, when you're self-employed, there's this very fine, fuzzy line between what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. You have to make that decision. But do realize, because we're in the digital age, that if you post something on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or on your website or anywhere that is completely contradictory to your business image, it can cause you serious problems. So whatever you post, even when you're posting as yourself, remember that you are the business. So even when you are speaking personally, something that you personally have thoughts about, make sure that you keep that in mind, because it can be very embarrassing for a client, a prospective client, to say, oh yeah, I remember your Facebook post where you were doing something that, and it's embarrassing. So with the digital and the print, you want to keep everything consistent, the same logo, the same colors, etc. But at the same time, you want to be mindful of your profession, your standing, your reputation, what you're trying to accomplish, and keep all of your digital media and marketing comments appropriate. So that is the end of the presentation. Here are the success support links. All of these are clickable, and I believe I can send this list to everyone who attended. The organizations at the top, there are so many organizations for self-employed people now. It is really thrilling, because when I first started my business, there were 2 freelance organizations out there, just 2. And so it's wonderful to see now we've got all these opportunities. We can work online, we can work remote, all of these things. But if you're seriously want to pursue this full time as being a self-employed person and being the business, you've got to get out there and find out what resources are available, because they've got everything from healthcare to insurance to travel plans, just like, you know, the large companies were offering at one time. So look through the organizations. You can also search for, you know, self-employment, self-employed organizations, resources, tools, and you'll find a gazillion things to consider. I'm putting these here because I've dealt with these organizations and apps. They work very well, but everyone is different. Some of these organizations do have membership fees. I'm not, you know, promoting them. I'm not getting paid anything for promoting any of these organizations, but these are credible organizations that I have interacted with. So, what questions do you have? Did I say anything that is unclear? Anything I should explain more? Hello?
I think you did a great job explaining how everything works as far as service delivery. It doesn't seem like anybody has any questions right now, though.
Okay. So we have, what do you have? I have 6:48. We have 10 minutes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's open a discussion about this self-employment. What's your take on it, Jeremy? As far as being a self-employed person, what's your experience been like?
It's really, it comes down to building those relationships with your customers, because that's what gets them comfortable enough to actually purchase from you. You have so many people nowadays that are just trying to get over that. People are hesitant to solicit your business unless they know what you provide and that you actually do a good job, or they know somebody that can vouch for you. So a lot of times, like I'll have people ask me things like, how do you know which relationship you should build on? And I have to be honest with them, you got to build on all of them, because even if that person isn't somebody that's going to buy from you, they can recommend you to somebody, and that's powerful when it comes to business. So that's really my take on things.
Itara, there's a young lady on the line, Miss Patty, I think Kate's. And
Okay.
said she's having difficulties introducing herself.
Well,
Uh,
okay, let me see.
Okay, here we go. She says, can you see what she's posting there in the chat?
Okay, let me go to the chat.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I could unmute
Oh, there
myself.
she is.
This
Okay.
Patty.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Patty. I'm having difficulties when I'm presenting myself to a prospective client and introducing myself and getting into my spiel on what to say, and I feel rushed because, you know, I don't think that they really want to talk to me, or that, you know, I only have a limited amount of time to get everything I want to say in, and rather than listening to their needs. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Okay, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you being here. When you're talking about a new meeting someone and introducing yourself, are you talking about like at a networking situation or a social event or something? Hello?
Actually, all of them. Like just for today, I started stopping off at some places that might need my services, and just
Okay.
dropping off a card and introducing myself, and, you know, saying that, you know, hey, there's a mobile notary in the area. You know, I just wanted to let you know I'm available, and
Okay.
giving a couple of suggestions what they might need me for. And then I get nervous and I freeze up, and instead of, you know, asking them some questions to try to get them engaged, I feel like I need to shut down because, you know, I'm soliciting them. At least that's in my mindset. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to get over that.
Well, what did you said you're a mobile notary?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you said? Okay. So,
Yes.
so here's what I would suggest. If you're talking about like cold calling, just like walking into a
Exactly.
place and introducing yourself,
Yes.
maybe take a moment and research, you know, the people. In other words, okay, you're a notary, right? So
Mhm.
who needs things notarized, right? That's the first thing.
Everybody. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
okay, but let's think about it on a business level. Okay, if you're going into a business, right? What kind of business would really need a notary? Well, real estate, title companies really need notaries. Okay, so think of it like that. Because if you're talking to someone who actually, yes, everybody needs things notarized. I got something notarized 12 months ago. It's not a regular thing for me. But a title company, yeah, a title company needs a notary. Now, sometimes they have notaries on staff. This is true, okay? But what you want to think about is that question. Who needs documents notarized on a regular basis? What type of companies could use my service? And then once you get this list together, then you have to think about how to approach them rather than just walking in. Maybe call, introduce yourself, and set up an appointment, you know, so that they are expecting you, so they have time to really pay attention to what you're saying. Are you following what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Have you tried any of those things?
Yes, I don't want to say I've typed out several scripts and practiced them, and kind of giving a little history as to what notaries can do, and things like that, just some open door openers. But then, like I said, I freeze up and I feel like I have to get everything out. And
Well,
not,
before you get everything out, you ask your questions, you know?
Mhm.
Like for instance, you know, the primary question is, do you have need of a notary on a regular basis? Because if they
Right.
don't, and you go through your whole spiel about what you can do, and they're like, well, I'm sorry, I don't use that. So maybe
Right.
start the conversation with a question, ask them, and practice. If you're freezing up, then you need to get with someone and practice. Get a buddy and you pretend that they're, you know, working in a title company, and, you know, you're calling them to make an appointment. You'd like to introduce yourself. You're a business person in the area, you know, whatever. but try to set an appointment with the people rather than just walking in on them. And practice what you're going to do with someone till you get comfortable.
Yeah, I could kind of switch my presentation around by asking the questions first,
Yeah,
and then
you want,
what I
it's all about them. It's all about them.
finding out
Pat.
what they need. Yeah, I
It's
don't know. I
all
didn't think of that.
about them. It cannot be about you. What can
Right.
I do for you? That's what you've got to come with. What can I do for you? Not, are you going to buy from me? But what can I do for you? Can I make your life easier? Can I save you some time? Can I bring you some new
Right.
income? What can I do for you?
Right, right. It's just a little out of my comfort zone, and I'm just practicing. And that's the other thing too. I feel like, and excuse my French, I feel like if I screwed up, I can never go back there again. I would like that would leave such a bad taste in their mouth. But
Well,
on the same
that's
time,
why you should call and get an
today.
appointment. If you call and get an appointment, Patty, you have an appointment with this person. Doesn't that feel a little bit more comfortable than just walking in on a company unannounced? They're not prepared for you. I mean, okay,
Well, this was
switch it
just one of
around.
them
Switch
that
it around. You're in your office and someone just walks in and says, "Hey, I'm here," and they start in telling, and you're sitting there like, "Who is this person?"
True, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
All right, so think of yourself like the customer. We're all customers. So if that was you, how would you be open to talking to someone that you've never met before and talk about what you need from them and what they can offer you? So think about what would make you comfortable. A call before to introduce, to make an appointment. Just think in terms of how can you reduce your nervousness, because the unexpected makes you nervous. You don't know what to expect because you're just walking in cold, okay? So you're nervous, you're anxious from, okay, what's going on here? You could walk into the middle of something that's not very pleasant, depending on
Right.
who you're dealing with. So if you're trying to hit everybody, Patty, you cannot service everyone. You've got to choose the people who have the greatest potential to use your services. You cannot do the shotgun approach and try to get everybody to use mobile notary services because you're only one person. So you cannot be in two places at one time. So your market has to be very specific, because this is something you're doing. It's not something you're mailing or you're putting online. This is a service that takes your time. So how many clients can you manage on a weekly basis or monthly basis? And then whatever that number is, focus on the companies that are most likely to need your services. Do your rehearsal with your friend. I don't care if it takes you 100 times. You should be able to rehearse this thing and say it like you say your name. It has to come just that easily to you. Once you get comfortable like that, you call, you might send an email, you call, make an appointment. How can I help you? That's what I'm here to find out how I can help your company be successful.
You made some good points. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else you want to ask me?
Oh, I could talk your ear off.
Well, are you in New Orleans?
I'm on the West Bank.
Oh, you're on the West Bank. Okay. Well, you should definitely, I don't know what your schedule is, but definitely go to the SCORE website. They've got a whole bunch of webinars just like this one that can help you through some of the stuff you're looking at.
I have signed up for several things. I have signed up for several.
Oh, that's excellent. Did you have any questions about the material I presented today?
No, ma'am. No, that it all made sense.
Well, Jay is recording this, so Jay, when is this gonna be available for people to see?
Should be
Jay?
available first thing in the morning. Just got
First thing in the
once we finish, I'll just get everything processed and put out.
Okay, so Patty, by tomorrow night this time, you should be able to see this video again, this webinar again. And other webinars are online as well. And you go through the links. All the links are clickable, so go through the links, research the resources, but definitely try that. Get your specific, potential client list, find out the answer to how can you help them, let that be your question. And then sit down and practice, with someone until what you are saying comes naturally to you. It has to be not a script, it has to be genuine, but it should be things that are easy for you to deal with, not something you make up. Okay, so once you do that, I'm sure you're going to have a lot more confidence. If you make that appointment and the people are looking forward to hearing from you, what you can do for them, I'm sure that some of the nervousness will go away. But good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything else? Anybody else want to make a comment?
The only other thing I thought is maybe when you're going into those, everyone pretty much, I think, knows what a notary person is, and also what the mobile idea means. Maybe you can just ask, what kind of what type of service would they need from you, and which will now put you in an even more comfortable zone, or needed from notaries. And so now you can talk more about that. I'm a notary, what types of services does your business require of notaries? And then maybe that might help too. And then the chambers, they always have you stand up and do those 1-minute pitches.
Well, I had started out, and actually the only places that I had stopped at were car repair shops, because I know that they have a lot of people who come in who would do, transfers or that kind of information. As for the title companies, what I had been doing was sending out an email and letting them know, sending them a copy of my commission, my resume, a photo, things that they would require, my certifications and whatnot. And then if they respond, I send them another email straight away asking if I could come in and talk to them. And if, there was any kind of positive response, I went by their office.
Okay,
And just
so you can
popped in and
practice.
said, hey, I just wanted to show you my face, and this is what I really look like in person, kind of thing.
Practice what Ms. Itara said. I think it sounds good.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna practice the more of that. I don't want to say cold calling, but that is something that I do need to practice on, because I like talking to people, and it's just something I need to feel more confident in being able to. I don't want to make it sound like I'm selling my services, but selling my services. Because a lot of people don't know what notaries can do. They think it's just, you're witnessing signatures, and it's not just that. There's a lot more that we can do that, if they knew about, they might use them more. So.
Well, have you tried putting together a brochure that gives a brief definition of the different things notaries can do?
Yes, and I have even gotten some credentialization of that from several people who are very affluent.
Okay.
And they've given me permission to use their articles even, so I was excited about that.
Okay. What about organizations for notaries?
I'm with several signing companies, with the NNA, I'm with the LNA. It's getting associated with the business associations is what I know I need to do. But, like you said, some of them charge fees. The one was $375, and I'm like, well, I gotta kind of understand.
Well, yeah, there's so many organizations. If you join them, you'll just be like, wow. In any case,
right.
the
Right.
point,
So I'm just keeping my eye out for like the real estate conventions, going
Okay.
to those,
okay,
or you know, anything that would be, you know, in my line, like, you know, the title work, you know, the real estate or the title companies, whenever they have some kind of convention or function, trying to get plugged in there.
well, I was at a networking session a while ago, and we were talking about service delivery and how, they were trying to get their employees to do certain things. Well, that was one conversation. It's a lot of customer service talk, but very little incentive. So I asked one person, I said, what is it that turns you off of a business person trying to, have a business relationship with you? Now, Patty, don't take this personally. I'm just telling you what the person said.
No, please. Mhm.
Okay, so they said, the thing that turns me off the most is that the minute they shake your hand, they start pitching you.
Mhm.
And he said,
Yeah.
that really turns me off. They don't see me as a person. They just see me as a prospect. So I had to laugh
Right.
because I understood what he meant, because it's happened to me. When you're at networking functions, I mean, like Barbara said about the chambers, you get up and do your 1-minute pitch. That's the ideal setting to do your pitch. But when you're talking to a person sitting next to you or standing next to you in the general, atmosphere of the networking crowd, and you start pitching like that, it's such a turnoff. It really is. Why not get to know the person? Okay, oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Those are great shoes, or that's a great tie, or, what about the weather? Talk to them like you talk to your best friend.
And that's
Ask
kind of
them
what hurt my
questions.
heart when I was kind of cold calling today, that I didn't take that, and I felt like I needed to just rush through, because I felt like I was imposing. And you made a good point. Make an appointment. That way I don't feel like, if they're opening the door for me to come in, that must mean that they want to hear me. So
Exactly.
at least I can go in there and be more personable, instead
Yeah.
of just going in there and trying to, jam something down their throat kind of thing,
And you get, like we talked earlier about identity, get a name tag, an engraved name tag with your name and your title. Okay. And whenever you're at these, networking events, people are going to see that. Okay. But you have a conversation with these people about business. You can talk about general terms of business. But when you start pitching every single person that you meet, then, pretty soon people don't want to talk to you, because they want to buy from a person. So you've got to connect with them. You've got to have empathy with them. So you have to approach them that way. And eventually, as you start asking them questions, what they do, have them talk. You listen. People love to talk about themselves. So ask them questions. And if they ask you a question, give them an answer, but keep it short, because you need to listen to them. The more you listen to them, the better. Jay, are we good with time? Jay, are we good with time?
Y'all still talking? You can keep going. We right after, we're at 7:08 now.
Okay. Are we supposed to close it down at now? Do we need to close it down?